Hello, this is Michael from Winteq, and I'm going to demonstrate how to add inventory to the RMS. We will go to the administration and select the inventory from the menu. It brings up the inventory screen. If I just do a search, it shows me 3 items here that I already have in the system. Notice the item ID here. My convention here is a 7-letter character, starting the first 3 letters is TAB for tablets, since these are all tablets. And then the fourth character is the first initial of the vendor name. And then the last 3 is just a number, so that I could have different numbers. I'm going to go to the middle record here, Bayer Aspirin, right click and add a record. And I'm going to go to it brings up that record, but I'm going to go to the description field and I'm going to paste this Neosporin ointment oil that is for wound and burn. And I'm going to copy that vendor name and put it for vendor ID. And I'm going to create, since this is an oil, I'm going to call it OIL for oil and for the manufacturer's first letter. And then I'm just going to call it 060 for the ID. That's my new ID. And let's say I'm receiving quantity of 50. The price for it is $1.20, and it's a pain medication. I'll keep that. And then a minimum, I'm supposed to have 20 in my inventory, maximum of 100, and I'm going to put that in shelf 3A is the as location. I add that and it says okay, it's been added. You notice that it's right up on the top there as the record I just added. If I double click at it, it brings the details of that item right there, and you will see that okay, it says there was a receipt of 50 of this item on today's date, which is January 24th, and by myself. My name is also in there, so you know who actually entered this record. Now I will go and bring up the one of the villagers here who already had an incident, and Jose here came. If I double click at this record, it tells you that he came and he had a foot injury and he was given some antibiotics. Now let's say he's returned, and I'm going to add a new record for him, and still hurts. That's what he's complaining. And I'm going to provide to him ointment. I spelled that wrong. Ointment. And then I'm going to say that was me, and I'm going to say that was on 24th of January of 2015, and I also need to put a date here, and I'm going to do this is a medical record, and that's all. So I'm going to add that. As soon as I add that, record is in here, it's added, and I will go back. There's the prescription button here, and I'll go to the prescription button and I search for items that I have in the inventory, and there's my ointment, and I'm going to give him 2 of these. So I click at the quantity cell here, enter 2, down arrow, adds it up here as what I'm prescribing to this patient, and I say apply oil for 1 week as a note that I am putting for myself here. And then after I've done that, I get out of there, and you see it in the record here as a log record for Jose. And I will go back into my inventory, and I will then search again, and brings up my just like before. Now I'm going to double click at the Neosporin oil, and you notice that in addition to the 50 that I received a little while ago, there's a -2 that is taken from that 50, and notice that there's a reason code here is Jose's number 10022, which if you look at here is 1002 for Jose. So it associates that to that patient. And notice that person who actually entered this also is recorded. That would be me. So if I go out of there, now there's additional things you could do. Let's say, for example, I'm going to go back in here later on and say, well, all right, I'm going to add another record here. This is actually, I found out while I'm doing this, there's half a dozen of these things for the reason of expired. They're actually expired. They're bad. So I'm going to put that in there and just say expired on 12 15 12/12 of 2014, something like that. And then I add that. When I do that, you'll notice it adds one more record. Now, if I looked at that item, I had total of 50. I prescribed 2 to Jose, so I'm down to 48. And now I took off another 6 from it. So this should go down to 42. If I cancel out of here and do a search, it surely goes back to 42. So it's keeping track of what is going on with that medication. Now, furthermore, let's say later on I'm down 42 again. Now I'm going to do another addition here. And this time I'm going to say there was a couple of dozen, 24 of them, that I this time was added actually. So I got a new receipt basically. So I guess new receipt. And that's my note there. And I'm going to add that. And so now you've got, oh, there's a positive 24 that got added to what I had. So if you take 24 and add it to 42, that should be 66 total. So if I go and do a quick search here, the quantity went up to 66. So at any time, either I'm adding new inventory or it's subtracting due to prescription, or it's subtracting due to bad expired medication, loss. There's several reason codes here as you look into this little drop down: donated, added, expired, lost, and so on and so forth. So depending on what it is we're doing, it will keep track of all of that. So now then, if I go and look at let's say the reports, this would be another interesting thing to notice in this presentation. And I'm going to look at this inventory report. And if I bring that up momentarily here, it will show you that I have these 4 items. Remember, our inventory was 4 different items: tablets and ointment, and it is showing the current quantity. So in this case, my ointment is 66 based on everything I've done. And notice that it's grouping them by what product group they are. So these all were designated as pain medication, whereas this one was something to do with infections or what have you as a product group. So this would be a paper copy if you wanted to print it or see at any given time how much you have. This report could be printed or could be emailed or shown or what have you. So that's a report regarding the inventory. And I think that concludes my presentation on adding items to the inventory system here. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.